Good afternoon. My name is James Deitch, and I'm here to talk to you today about the relationship between entrepreneurship and war. It's a pretty exciting topic for me. It connects home building with the after effects of World War II. In August of 1945, the guns fell silent in the Pacific. Japan had just surrendered just days after the United States had dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Months earlier, Nazi Germany had surrendered and the war in Europe was over as well. During this entire time and going back to the beginning of the war, actually a year before the war, President Roosevelt had appealed to industry to create an arsenal of democracy, to take all of the knowledge that people like Henry Ford had introduced into industry, into industrial production, and put it towards the war effort. And that was an exciting time. They built tanks, they built planes, they built all kinds of things that were necessary to support Great Britain in the war until we entered in December of 1941 when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. In the meantime, the war would rage on and much commitment and effort would be set towards producing this massive war movement. The economy was great. Unemployment dropped to its lowest level in history. In fact, that unemployment rate has never been matched. It was down around 1.2% by 1944 when war production was at its full capacity. But the war had to come to an end, as I started off with, and in August of 45 it was over. But about a year before that, they started contemplating what was going to happen. There was big fears of massive unemployment and a big depression, or at least a recession that would occur in the economy. The exact opposite happened. Because so much was being produced and so much wealth was being generated, combined with the fact that most consumer products were on allocation or very much restricted, savings was also at an all-time high. You had all of these people that were deployed, they couldn't spend any money at home, everybody was working, that's what the main focus was. So savings was up to like 21% of income at the time. It was just astronomical. Again, a number just unheard of and unseen again since that time. So when all of these Marine sailors and airmen and soldiers returned back to the United States, there were a few things on their mind. Number one was finding a job, and there were no shortage of jobs to be found, much to the surprise of the government and the economists. Second thing is they wanted to have families. They had been gone for a long time. They were thinking about restarting their lives. They had jobs now, and it was time to go ahead and start families. Well, families equal homes, and housing was a big concern as well because there wasn't a whole lot of it. Now enter a gentleman by the name of Abraham Levitt and his sons Alfred and William. They had been in the home building industry for probably about a year at this point, or several years at this point. And so they had kind of figured out the nuances of it, but they hadn't built to any mass production like this. But as good entrepreneurs do, they look for circumstance, they look for opportunity, and they look to their own skills and abilities as businessmen and whatever it is that they can produce to meet that need. And they did it quite well. They jumped ahead of everybody else and spurred a massive growth in the home building industry. But they combined the ability to mass produce with that what had occurred during the war effort to produce these homes. And so what you saw was levitt&sons emerge as a home builder, and you may have heard the term Levittown. There was one in Long Island, another one in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Eventually there would be one in New Jersey, where roughly about 17,000 homes would be produced in a relatively short time. Unheard of back then, fairly common today that we see that kind of growth in the home building industry, but it was unique at the time. Every 100 feet, Levitt&sons would drop a package of brick and lumber and piping and all of the things necessary to build a home, and would produce a house every 15 minutes. Unbelievable. Just an astronomical story of mass production to meet the needs of these people coming home. Bill Levitt in particular, this was really his baby. His brother was a good designer. His father started the company, but it was Bill's genius and his brilliance and his dedication. He didn't care about anything but making money, and he didn't care about anything that other than what had to do with his business. In fact, he didn't even own a home. He rented a mansion in New York at another place that was a vacation place that he and his family would go and enjoy, but he rented both of those. He was too busy with that company. And I can tell you, I got a chance earlier in my career to come across some of these guys. They were absolutely dedicated to nothing other than building homes. So again, we've demonstrated how this mass production would happen. A massive amount of wealth was accumulated, and they would continue to just build neighborhoods. And it was a new idea, because attached to this was the idea of suburbia and neighborhoods and the initial kernels of what that should look like, the precursors to homeowners associations and rules for what a neighborhood should look like and what community should look like. And what followed was the building of schools, roads, infrastructure, hospitals, and other things, shopping, that would meet the needs of these people that lived in these communities. At one point, they thought that Bill Levitt had created areas that would be future poverty places, where poor people would go. The exact opposite happened. We saw an emerging middle class that was very strong, very exciting, and that lasted for a long time. The story of Bill Levitt and his brother are really great examples of where private industry can come together and meet the needs of society and just create a success story unparalleled. Levitt&Sons is out of business now. Other builders learned how to become bigger and better and greater, but it marks the beginning of mass production of the housing industry in the United States. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to some discussion on the subject. Thank you.